Mrs. Regina Ip cannot attend the meeting today. I'm chairing this meeting on behalf of her. It's a appointed time we have a quorum. I call to order the meeting. Agenda item number 1. Information paper issued since last meeting. The last meeting was held on the 8th of October 2024. After the meeting, the Secretariat has not issued any information paper. Agenda item number 2. Items for discussion at the next meeting and the date of the next meeting. The next meeting is scheduled for the 3rd of December 2024 at 4:30 p.m. The administration proposed to discuss the following items. Number 1, report on the latest development of Ocean Park. 2, development of low-altitude economy and staffing proposal of the Civil Aviation Department. 3, updates on marine legislation. Members, do you have any comments on the proposed items for discussion? If not, let's move on to the third agenda item, briefing by the Commerce and Economic Development Bureau on the Chief Executive's 2024 policy address. The officials have already entered the room. Welcome. Members who would like to speak, please press the button to request to speak. I'd like to remind members, in accordance with the Rule of Procedure, Rule 83A, if members have any direct or indirect pecuniary interest in the matters being discussed today, please disclose the nature of the relevant interest before you speak. Welcome, Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration, Mr. Chuck Wing Heng, Acting Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Dr. Bernard Chan. Mr. Chuck, the floor is yours. Chairman, good afternoon. In the Policy Address 2024, the Chief Executive proposed to set up a number of committees and working groups to enhance leadership and cross-bureau coordination mechanisms and to fully leverage leading and coordinating functions of secretaries and deputy secretaries of department. The silver economy has a wide coverage straddling various bureaus. I will lead the working group on promoting silver economy to coordinate work among different bureaus. I now introduce to members the work plan of the working group. Population aging is expected to continue in Hong Kong, with life expectancy continuing to increase. The Census and Statistics Department forecasts that in 2043, 1 in 3 persons in Hong Kong will be elderly person. The elderly population will continue to grow. Labor participation rate among elderly people will also rise markedly. The silver-haired will become a massive consumption group, driving the demand for products and services catering to the elderly. If we can develop new products and services capitalizing on the situation, we can meet the needs of the elderly, improve their quality of life, create business opportunities, develop new areas of growth, and increase our manpower resources. The Chief Executive proposed for the first time in a 2023 policy address to set up the Advisory Panel on Silver Economy to bring in experts to look into the needs and development of silver-hair economy. The advisory panel was set up this February. After detailed discussions, a series of suggestions on further developing silver-hair economy have been proposed. Having taken on board the advisory panel's advice, the Chief Executive proposed in a 2024 policy address that the working group, which is led by me, implement measures in 5 areas. 1. Boosting silver consumption. We'll work with all sectors to foster elderly-friendly consumption and encourage the incorporation of silver economy elements into their business, such as elderly discounts. Efforts will also be made to safeguard the rights and interests of elderly consumers. 2. Developing the silver industry. We'll promote the marketization and industrialization of products catering to the elderly by consolidating funding resources to support product provision and market expansion by the business sector. 3. Promoting quality assurance of silver products. We will promote the certification of products catering to the elderly to enhance the recognition and appeal. Standards adopted will be aligned with those of the mainland and overseas in order to facilitate sales network expansion. 4. Enhancing silver financial and security arrangements. We will assist the elderly in making proper financial arrangements and strengthening their financial security. Relevant measures include promoting retirement financial planning products offered by the Hong Kong Mortgage Corporation Limited and providing investor education for the elderly. 5. Unleashing silver productivity. We will help to unleash the productivity of the elderly through retraining, reemployment, and other measures. The Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development will be the deputy leader. Other members include the Secretaries of the Labor and Welfare Bureau, Innovation, Technology and Industry Bureau, Financial Services and the Treasury Bureau and the Health Bureau, alongside other representatives from departments. We have representatives from these bureaus joining us today. The working group will convene the first meeting on the 7th of November. It will discuss and formulate policies based on the 5 areas of silver economy. Relevant bureau will develop a work plan and timetable. The working group will also review the work progress of various bureaus to ensure the implementation of measures as soon as possible. The working group will invite other bureaus or departments to join the discussion if need be. We'd like to seize this opportunity to brief members on our work plan and listen to members before the working group commences work. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Deputy CS. 13 members have pressed the button to request to speak. They are, in sequence, Mr. Sunny Tang, Ms. Eunice Yong, Ms. Elizabeth Kwok, Mr. Jeffrey Lam, Mr. Brave Chan, Mr. Stephen Hong, Mr. Andrew Lam, Mr. Lok Chung Hong, Mr. Bill Tang, Mr. Chen Siu Hong, Dr. Chow Man Kong, Mr. Holden Chow, Mr. Ring Kong. This session only has 30 minutes, so 3 minutes questions and answers included. First member, Mr. Sunny Tang. Thank you, Deputy Chair. I thank the government for promoting silver hair economy. I am the chairperson of the Hong Kong Productivity Council. I'm also on the other federation. Since 1978, we have a quality assurance scheme. There are also a lot of product certification schemes. We'd like to see if we can work with the administration to see how the administration can work with the industry to promote silver hair economy by putting in place some recognition arrangements. Next, regarding silver productivity, in the census in 2021, the labor participation rate among elderly people reached 210,000. If we can provide retraining and innovation and technology, we'll be able to promote silver productivity. We can also enlarge the pool of silver hair. That is a way to solve the manpower crunch issue in Hong Kong. Deputy CS. Thank you, Deputy Chair. Quality assurance schemes correlate to the third aspect, that is promoting quality assurance of silver products. In Hong Kong, we have a relevant department providing product certification services. They can provide testing and certification services for silver products. The aim is to ensure quality and safety. In Hong Kong, some residential care homes for the elderly have obtained recognition regarding quality assurance or quality schemes. As the Chief Executive said, we need to boost the economy. So if there is any room for cooperation, we can work with the Hong Kong Qmark Council to certify products. Next, on unleashing silver productivity, This has to do with the fifth aspect, that is unleashing silver productivity. At present, the Labor Department has some schemes which aim to unleash the potential of people aged 40 or above. Regarding how we can unleash the manpower potential for those above the age of 60, we'll have to discuss that later. Next, Ms. Eunice Yong. Thank you, Deputy Chair. I'm glad to see silver hair economy mentioned in the 2024 policy address. It is also a suggestion of the New People's Party. We're glad to see the working group covers a wide coverage, including consumption, financial arrangements, and so on. I received cases in relation to insurance. The silver hair group may have to pay 30,000 each every year. That is for their medical health insurance. Every year, insurance companies review their clauses of the insurance policies. So every year, there may be changes in the clauses in the healthcare insurance policies. Say, they cannot provide 100% coverage when it comes to healthcare insurance. That is indeed a large gap to be plugged. We have the CEDB, Health Bureau, ITIB, and so on. We need to protect the interests and rights of the elderly people. One aspect is silver financial and security arrangements. We understand this is a function of the Consumer Council, so upon the setup of the working group regarding the needs of elderly people or legal protection of elderly people, how can we better enhance these protection aspects? Will you consider including the Department of Justice in the working group in order to protect the legal rights and interests of elderly people? Well, please be succinct. Thank you, Deputy CS. First of all, when it comes to consumer protection, it is protected under Cap 362. That is the Trade Description Ordinance, TDO. Omission or other malpractices in relation to trade description are covered under the TDO. Customs and Excise Department will also be a gatekeeper. They will work with the District Council and the police force to step up publicity in order to enhance the awareness when it comes to consumption among elderly people. The Consumer Council also provides services in this regard. In relation to the case mentioned by member, if an insurance company needs to make any significant amendment to the insurance policy, first of all, the company will have to consult the policyholder first. Elderly people have a greater demand for medical services, hence a larger claim. The insurance premium, therefore, will also increase as a result. It's come to our attention that some private hospitals will have to enhance the transparency when it comes to the price levels. The aim is to control medical inflation. We want to keep it in check. The working group has heeded the opinion of Ms. Eunice Yong. We'll see what we can do. Next, Ms. Elizabeth Kwok.
Thank you, Chair. If I may talk about the development of the silver industry as well as promoting silver financial and security arrangements and promoting quality assurance of silver products in the policy address. To make it easier for the elderly, we have to encourage the elderly in Hong Kong to make greater use of gerontology. in our technologies. Fall prevention, monitoring your bodily conditions, helping them to move around, enhancing their mobility, getting up, etc. All such you can benefit from the use of gerontological products, and care homes have been subsidized to acquire such products. NGOs may also buy such products for hire to the elderly members. But then for those enterprises involved in the development and research of such products, we have been told that care homes do use such products. But then the majority of the elderly people in Hong Kong live in the community and they want to age in the community. It's difficult for such products to reach such elderly people. Many elderly people don't know about schemes that they can hire such products, and not all of them would go to elderly centers to learn about such. So we have to step up the promotion. Many elderly people don't know much about the availability of such products. So if we want such products to be helping the elderly people, we need more promotion and publicity. We need to go around the districts. We need to go around the public housing estates, let them try the products, and then they were interested to buy them or to lease them. My question is that if economic conditions permit, can we not allow the elderly people to be given gerontology vouchers so that they can use the subsidy to buy the products, and then we can expand such a market for locally researched and developed gerontological products. I hope they can benefit our own people. In this way, the market can be formed and it can become an industry. Well, of course, every year we have an annual event. It is in the form of an exhibition. But then they are mainly targeted at the local care homes and the local market. Most of the local care homes are using them. Well, what has been suggested is that for such a fair, it should be sort of combined with the electronic and electrical goods fair, which are targeted at the overseas markets, so that we can allow the markets to tap into the overseas markets as the mainland markets. With a larger market, it means that more funds will be available for R&D, and then we can further enhance our overseas markets. So stepping up the publicity, and then the technology vouchers for the elderly, as well as going beyond the local markets. Deputy Secretary. Well, the first question was whether such applications, that is the application of gerontology, and whether we can subsidize the application and whether they can be used in a home setting. In fact, in the year 2024-25, we have an additional injection of capital of $1 billion so that home-based products of gerontology will also be covered. Eligible care homes may apply, and in fact, the scope of usage will also be expanded to home settings in addition to home health teams as well as the care homes. So we'll be more than happy to consider the members' idea. The third one was about combining the gerontology fair and the electronics fair. We need to study that, because it's not just the government that can make the decision. Participating exhibitors may have their own views, so we'll see whether it is feasible. What about the technology vouchers for the elderly people? We'll talk to the FSTB, but of course you know that our financial situation is a bit tight, and then we need to consider the idea very cautiously. Next, Mr. Jeffrey Lam. Thank you, Chair. Well, we know that there are demographic changes in our population. The elderly population is getting larger and larger. We see a bright future for the development of the silver economy. Most elderly people prefer to go northwards to spend the money, or to go out of Hong Kong for tourism purposes. We can't stop them from going out for tourism purposes or to go north to spend. This is because when they were at their prime years, they didn't have time to spend their money. Now, Hong Kong must create silver products, silver entertainment to retain them to spend the money in Hong Kong. So do you have incentives or measures to attract them to stay home? What about discounts to be given to the elderly people? What form will it take? And what about consumption vouchers? Would that be the form to be taken, or would it be in the form of discounts given to them? And how is the government going to expand the market for products of gerontology? I did say that it is a huge market. It is not just confined to the local market. How are you going to support the enterprises or the sectors to go outside of Hong Kong and expand their overseas markets? What about exploring the Belt and Road countries, and what about the Middle East or the ASEAN markets? The nearest would be the Greater Bay Area market. So do you have any concrete initiatives going beyond Hong Kong? I think it will be the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Member, for your questions. In fact, we do have a thriving convention and exhibition industry. We do build a huge variety of such events to attract investors and exhibitors. So to answer the second part of the question as to how to help our products to tap into the overseas markets, we do have such a platform with the International Health Fair, with the gifts fair, etc. So we do have a special area for the silver economy so as to promote the related products. And in fact, we have many talks and seminars, sharing sessions, so as to enhance the local awareness and highlight the business opportunities and to promote the sale of such products. The TDC has been holding different fairs and exhibitions, and we can consider silver economy themed events, and we can encourage other operators to do the same. For the electronics, for e-commerce, well, in fact, this is an area we are focusing our attention on. Well, not too long ago, there was such an event. More than 200 brands were showcased there, covering silver products. And in fact, through such a e-commerce platform, we can expand our markets. So such a digital platform, it will continue and will go to the ASEAN countries as well. So through such an online platform, we can go out of Hong Kong. For the first part of your question, we will liaise with our businessmen. We will try to see where we can regularly have promotional events to encourage elderly consumption, and we'll try to see if we can partner with anybody, any enterprises, to encourage consumption, in particular consumption locally by our elderly people. But of course, there are structural and cyclical factors, and there will be a cut in the interest rate this week, etc. So we do try to encourage local consumption by offering discounts, and there will be different kinds of activities like promotional activities targeting at the elderly. Would you try to make sure that the elderly can benefit from one-and-done festivals or parties for the elderly? Well, maybe we can move on to Mr. Chen Yung. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Deputy Secretary. I agree with the CE in relation to the need to promote the silver economy. Well, in fact, Mr. Cheuk will lead the working group on promoting silver economy. Is it because of this Mr. Cheuk is having silver hair and by dyeing his hair? Well, I just want to say that we can meet a lot of demands by riding on the existing advantages. That is, we can have the internet plus together with the silver economy. I think other places have been making use of the new technologies to help the elderly. Say, for example, for those with swallowing difficulties, we can also make use of technology to help. The DAB has also tried to help the elderly by offering soft food as well as other technical aids to help those with swallowing difficulties. So I think we should try to integrate them. And then for the Hong Kong Jockey Club, it has got a leasing scheme. And there are also many similar schemes in Hong Kong. The important point is to expand the coverage and lower the threshold so that more elderly people can benefit, so that they can lease the equipment. And what about availability of land? Can we not make sure that the private sector would also have elderly zones when they develop their projects, so that the elderly people can have a one-stop service and they can go there to have exercises and to do their shopping. So I think we can try to make use of technology to provide care, food, etc. Mr. Chair, I didn't dye my hair one way or other. Well, you talked about the availability of care food for the elderly. Well, it's been quite common overseas. Say, for example, we try to classify the food for the elderly into a number of classes, like moving down a scale, depending on the sort of characteristics. The elderly would have different diet needs and swallowing habits. So I think this can be one of the factors to be considered by us forming part of the silver economy. What is important is that the integration has to be carried out by the market itself. For the Hong Kong Jockey Club gerontology products leasing scheme, as to whether we need to lower the eligibility threshold. Indeed, we can study it, but I don't have the information with me now. When it comes to planning, whether we should have more cooperation with the developer so that more space should be dedicated to space for doing exercises like gyms, etc. We do ask for exercise stations to be included, but then for health-related issues, we can refer the idea to the Bureau of Health. Next, Mr. Stephen Ho. Thank you, Chair. I'm glad to see that in the policy address, we are going to promote silver economy. When it comes to this concept, what is the age limit? Probably in a decade's time, all our hair will become silver hair. I don't think we should simply talk about the economy for the elderly. In your paper, in paragraph 5b, you talk about silver industry. I think Dr. Kwok said that other than the NGOs using the products, even ambulant elderly people can also make use of such products. For those for those who are age 50 or so, for those who are still mobile and not yet admitted to care homes, I'm afraid they might not have set aside money for the purpose of such products. In 5D, you talk about silver financial and security arrangements. Maybe we can introduce insurance for gerontology products. Maybe we should start saving money at a younger age so that when we grow old, we can lease them or we can buy them using the insurance. Otherwise, it will be difficult to promote the idea. I'm not speaking on behalf of the party. I just wondered if you may have to set up a fund to drive the idea, that is, taking out insurance. So please don't just talk about NGOs acquiring such technologies. Just now, a member also talked about silver consumption. In Hong Kong, there are people who are very mobile and who have the financial means. They want to reduce their expenditure, so they go to the mainland to buy a property. I think you should look at that. And then for reverse mortgage, I don't think it is really that attractive. Every time you try to promote the idea, the elderly people think that you are taking away, snatching away their properties. So publicity is inadequate. So please see if you would promote the idea of insurance for gerontology products. There used to be a TV series talking about getting to the age of 120.
Deputy CS, thank you, Mr. Stephen Ho. What is the definition for elderly people? We have different schemes. Well, there are elderly people aged above 60 or 70. But when it comes to silver economy, we don't have to set the age threshold in stone. We have young elderly, so to speak. There are elderly people aged between 55 and 75. There are also elderly people aged 75 or above. For 5D, enhancing silver financial and security arrangements. And we can consider having care insurance. Well, I mean, do the financial and security arrangements cover your own technology, products, insurance? Well, if there is a demand, there will be supply in society. Regarding how we can enhance the consumption power in developing the silver industry. When elderly people have the consumption power, it doesn't mean that they will make spending in society. There aren't a lot of such products in Hong Kong. Say food, care food. If there is indeed good care food in society, both healthy and delicious, then people will buy it in the market. We need to see if there is such a product in the market. If it is available, then people will buy it. Well, this is quite a complicated issue. I can follow up on it later on. Well, in the interest of time, please ask 1 to 2 questions only. Don't ask more than 2 questions. Next member, Mr. Andrew Lam. Thank you, Deputy Chair. I'd like to follow up on silver economy as well. I welcome silver economy. Hong Kong is quite an affluent society. Does the administration have a full grasp of assets among elderly people? What is their investment portfolio? Do you have a full grasp of the situation? Quite a lot of properties are held by the silver-haired. Some of them, some of the properties don't have mortgage anymore. It's been 13 years for the program on mortgage in relation to the silver hair. There was a rebound in society. The performance improved. Can we identify room for improvement in order to take forward the program? For insurance premium, to a lot of elderly people who hold assets, maintenance and repairing costs may become a burden. So I'd like to know if the government has any concrete plans regarding elderly care mortgage. I'd like to give the floor to the FSTB in a moment. Mr. Andrew Lam asked about whether we have any idea of the investment portfolio. Elderly people have bought assets, some of them are especially rich. They have sufficient cash flow, but we don't have a complete tally in this regard. We'll try to see if other units in the government can help so that we can have a full grasp of the situation. Member is right. It's silver hair economy, and we need to know how many of them can spend, how many of them have the financial means to spend. I'd like to give the floor to the FSTB to speak on the reverse mortgage program. Deputy Secretary, since the rollout of the reverse mortgage program, there were a total of 7,000 odd applications which have been approved. Over half were made by elderly singletons, averaging the age of 68. The properties are valued at $5 million or so. The annuity stands at around 16,000 on a monthly basis. When elderly people are planning for their retirement and sufficient cash flow for monthly income later on, they may have to consider other plans, say plans giving them cash flow upon retirement. Apart from the Hong Kong Mortgage Corporation Limited, there is also an investor education organization teaching elderly people about these investment principles. We'll continue with the relevant publicity work with the Hong Kong Mortgage Corporation Limited to see how we can enhance awareness among the elderly people. Thank you. Next member, Mr. Lok Chung Hong. We have silver hair, but it doesn't mean we have silver economy. The crux of the matter is that we need to have sufficient money. And elderly people need to know how to use the money they have. All these are crucial. Elderly people work very hard in the prime of their life, but upon retirement, some of them were scammed. They got swindled out of their money, so they already have no money to use upon retirement. There is no silver economy then. Some of them are worried that they don't have money after retirement, so they don't dare to spend the money they have. Silver financial and security arrangements are key. There are two very good schemes, one reverse mortgage program and public annuity. But on the website of public annuity, the main point wasn't mentioned. The money invested in public annuity is not factored in one's asset. So how can you promote that to elderly people? You will enjoy two streams of income when you invest in this public annuity, and that's exactly how you should market or promote this scheme. Banks won't help you with the promotion. Banks definitely promote their own products. So my question is, what tactics does the administration have to promote such programs, say the retirement financial products under the Hong Kong Mortgage Corporation Limited? Will you commission independent companies to reach out to elderly people to provide independent silver financial products or opinions? FSTB. Thank you, Deputy Chair. We do have a comprehensive program. Say the Hong Kong Mortgage Corporation Limited has a program called Amigo. Elderly people joining the scheme are provided with a series of services, including workshops, events, etc. Through these arrangements, we can educate elderly people on annuity, reverse mortgage programs, and so on. so elderly people will be able to better use their financial assets upon retirement. There are indeed such services in society. Well, I think we could be more targeted in this regard. We need to reach out to elderly people. We also need to reach out to independent financial advisors. Then these advisors can talk to elderly people one-on-one. Don't just organize seminars with a lot of people. They may not be targeted enough. Next, Mr. Bill Tang. Thank you, Deputy Chair. I want to give comments to Deputy CS. Cruise may be on the high-end side when it comes to silver economy. Cruise is an all-inclusive space. It also has a slow pace. It has a lot to do with retirees, and indeed, the cruise industry needs good cruise infrastructures. So how can we attract overseas visitors and also attract elderly people in Hong Kong to enjoy cruise tours? We need to develop Hong Kong as a capital of cruise. Hong Kong used to be a city that never sleeps. We need to build Hong Kong into a cruise capital. Then we can attract people who like a slower pace of life to Hong Kong. The issuance of I-bonds serves as an investor tool to allow investors to diversify their risks. We need products for members of the public to catch up with inflation. Don't wait until 60 years old. We can make available these services to people aged 30 to 40. We need to start earlier. We can also provide a one-stop shop. That's the way to go. I'd also like to speak on silver productivity. Any labor union in insurance may criticize insurance companies. Mr. Bill Tang has 3 suggestions. In principle, the administration does not have to reply. Any reply, though? I'll take the first question. The other 2 questions will be given to the FSTB regarding how we can attract elderly people in Hong Kong to go on cruise tours. Just now, member mentioned we are not a city that never sleeps. Later on, we are going to speak on tourism. The initiatives aren't mutually exclusive. We can be a cruise capital, but we can also be a city that never sleeps. We need products and services that have good value for our money, and I believe cruise companies will consider this. The government wants to promote silver economy. Tourism products are one of the aspects that we can look into. That's how we can develop silver economy. Deputy Secretary, any response? I'd like to reply to the question about stable income or return on the MPF. We have already tasked the MPFA and the relevant units to look into this. Recently, in the investment products of MPF, we have added a lot of products that ensure stable returns, say green bond issuance from the government or infrastructure bonds issued by the government. Priority will be given to the MPF portfolio. Next member, Mr. Chen Xiu-hong.
Thank you, Chair. In last year's policy address, the CE said that he planned to do the following in years' time. That is, proposals to develop silver economy. And then an advisory panel was set up, 2 meetings were held. And then in the 2024 policy address, we are told that a working group on promoting silver economy will be set up to be chaired by Mr. Chek, the Deputy CS4A. We have high hopes because we all agree that there are huge business potential in the silver economy. Now, there were 2 meetings carried out or hosted by the advisory panel, but I don't quite see any reports from the advisory panel so that we can learn more about the consultants or the advisors' recommendations. In the year 2024, we have got a policy address and 5 areas have been cited to develop the silver economy. I think the advisors must have given much more than the framework that we see in the policy address. And I think this is why the CE has appointed the Deputy Chief Secretary for A to lead the working group on promoting silver economy. So please elaborate on the recommendations. For silver industry and silver consumption, right, we need to boost them. But then for the local silver market, we do have one, but the scale isn't great. So if it is to become a silver industry, then we must take up the GBA market as well and look at the role to be played by Hong Kong. And then we have to ride on our own comparative advantage. And then together with the GBA cities, we go to the Southeast Asian markets as well as the Belt and Road countries. And I think you are right to promote quality assurance of silver products. Mr. Chair, we need to look at the standards that would apply to the needs of the elderly, like those with swallowing difficulties or factors that we have to take into account when we take care of the elderly. It is something like an elderly-friendly standard. Mr. Chair, well, I understand that the advisory panel made suggestions on 4 areas. Mr. Chen or Dr. Chen can elaborate on that as well. 4 of them have been covered. That is boosting silver consumption, developing the silver industry, and enhancing silver financial and security arrangements, and helping the gray-haired people to return to the labor market. As to the standards promoted by Mr. Chen, I do subscribe to his idea. That is, in fact, under Area 3, promoting quality assurance of silver products, I think it is important to have quality assurance. Certain standards must be abided by, say, for example, make it easier to swallow. I think it is exactly because we want to tap into the GBA market as well as the Southeast Asian markets that we have got this idea. So this is to facilitate sales network expansion. Maybe Dr. Chen can also supplement. Yes, briefly, please. Regarding the advisory panel, as the member pointed out, 2 meetings were held, and the advisory panel helped us to look at the existing measures under the current term government. We also looked at the related data, and we tried to find out ways to boost silver consumption. And we also examined our silver products and the silver services, whether there is room for improvement. We'll encourage our businessmen to think out of the box, to come up with products and services that can better cater to the needs of the elderly population. We also suggest that there should be products that can bring about a steady stream of income, and will also encourage the elderly people to return to the labor market. The advisory panel has submitted a report to the CE, and regarding the recommendations from the advisory panel, they form the basis of the 5 areas promulgated in the 2024 policy address. Chair, in relation to the development of the silver industry, I think we should look at the division of labor between Hong Kong and GBA. I think we should have R&D here, and then manufacturing to be carried out in the GBA, and then for quality assurance, accreditation, etc., such should be carried out in Hong Kong. In this way, we can complement and supplement each other. Thank you. Next, Dr. Chow. Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, colleagues and also public officers. Well, for the baby boomers, I think we are becoming 60 years old or 70 years old. You mustn't overlook them because they are very strong in terms of the financial strength. The Hong Kong Housing Society has come up with 2 property developments that help the middle-class elderly retirees. We must keep them in Hong Kong. We mustn't let them choose to go elsewhere. Otherwise, the capital will go with them, and they will spend their money elsewhere. So maybe in the northern metropolis, we should also set up elderly-friendly districts. If they stay in Hong Kong, then our local economy will prosper. And then for the Hong Kong MC3, you can only choose one of them for tax deduction purposes. Can the government consider the following? Can we allow tax deductions for all the 3 of them instead of just choosing 1 out of 3? So setting up elderly-friendly or elderly-oriented districts. Well, for the Hong Kong Housing Society, in fact, it has already launched 3 such projects, and altogether, 888 elderly residents can live there. And then for those under planning and under construction, there are another 3 such projects. And they form elderly-friendly communities, and there will be 1,100 plus places. For the Hong Kong MC3 and the tax deduction criteria, I would like to defer to my colleagues. Yes, Deputy Secretary. Well, for the tax deduction, well, you don't choose 1 out of the many, but for them to be combined together, the ceiling would be $60,000 a year. They have different functions. Say, for example, you save a certain amount of money, and then upon retirement, you have a steady stream of income. That's under one of them. And then the other one is that after regular contribution at the age of 65, you can withdraw your MPF entitlement in one go. Flexibility is given back to the persons involved, but then altogether you can have tax deduction up to 60,000 only. You should be more flexible, and please have it raised, because for the $60,000 tax deduction quota, you are only saving $10,000 plus in terms of tax payment. Holden Chow, let me share with you my observations. Well, for the government's study, I'm not sure if the government would go deeper. Just now, this was lightly touched upon. First of all, the age profile. Those who are just turning 60 or 60-something, well, they are in quite fair or good health conditions. Can we not allow them to continue to work so that when they return to the labor market, the arrangements is easier, and then they can spend their time gainfully, and you want them to spend money locally. However, whenever they spend their money, they will first consider whether they should spend less since they are out of a job and they don't have a monthly income. So if they can work to a certain extent and as long as the physical conditions permit, they should be allowed to return to the labor market. And this way, we can stimulate the economy. First, they have a job and they return to the labor market. They have more income and then they're willing to spend more. The economy can prosper. For those who are older, like those age 70 or above, they may be less mobile and less healthy. So what about the economic benefits from such an age group? Would you agree with me that the economic benefits will be greater from those who were younger olds? So have you considered this? But this is my observation. Another point is a comment. Well, for you to promote silver economy, of course, all the time we've been talking about the $2 concession scheme. Many elderly people need them. To them, they would say that when they go out, they have to spend money as well, in addition to paying for the travel expenses. Of course, there are views as to whether it has been abused and there should be a tightening of the regulation. But to me, I think the $2 concession is hugely popular with the elderly people. For you to promote the silver economy, I think it is indispensable. Unless they leave their home, they don't and they won't spend money. Thank you. So, Dr. Chow, for the elderly to work again, that's for the business sector. But then I'm sure the government has got certain statistics. Well, for the elderly, there may be young olds like those aged between 50 and 65. Well, I think they can return to the labor market and they will be spending money to enjoy life. For those who are more senior in age, like those aged 75 or more, I think the health need is one in the nature of care. So we'll try to see if we can gather the information according to age distribution. In the year 2023, for our labor participation rate for those aged 60 to 64, the rate was 48.7%, not a low one. For those aged 65 or above, it came down to 13.5%. Well, judging from our health conditions and our life expectancy, I think there is room for further raising it. I know that Dr. Chow is very concerned about the $2 concession scheme. You know that the government is carrying out a review and then will consider different measures to exercise control. First of all, we have already said that the policy intention of having the $2 concession scheme will be kept, but then we'll make sure that it is sort of feasible and operational. We expect to complete the study within the year. Thank you, Deputy CS4A. The last to speak, Ms. Doreen Kong. Thank you, Chair. You have my full support to develop the silver economy. I'm glad to see that the working group is to be led by the Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration. I agree with Mr. Andrew Lam. For us to develop silver economy, it depends on whether the silverhead have got money to spend. In the past, we did try to release the potential. Say, for example, introducing the idea of reverse mortgage. Being a lawyer by profession, I know that reverse mortgage has been effective to a certain extent. But if you ask an elderly person to mortgage their only property, they have reservation. And in terms of the process or the procedures, I think it's a bit cumbersome. For you to have reverse mortgage, you need to find a younger person to act as a guarantor. The elderly owners may not want to do so. Maybe we can keep reverse mortgage. However, in terms of the requirements, perhaps we can simplify them.
Elderly people put their assets in properties. They may have savings, but not a lot of savings, perhaps. They don't want to spend either. So we have elderly residents, but can we expand the market so that private developers or operators can take part in these schemes as well, so elderly people or senior citizens can move into these residences after selling their own properties. Then they will have more financial means for the government to promote silver economy. Will the administration consider this? I'll take the second question, and the first question will be taken by the FSTB. We'll consider what Ms. Doreen Kong proposed. But it's not that straightforward, actually. The concept is when an elderly person buys a cheaper flat, then one can have more money when an elderly person sells the flat. It's never easy to buy a property in Hong Kong. It's never cheap. So we need to think how we can make it happen. But I thank Ms. Doreen Kong for floating this proposal. I'll give the floor to the FSTB. Thank you, Deputy Chair. As Ms. Doreen Kong says, elderly people need to have an understanding of the reverse mortgage. First of all, one needs to have knowledge about reverse mortgage. 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, or life, an elderly person needs to have sufficient knowledge to make a decision how an elderly person can get cash flow for his or her use. Elderly people need to have the relevant concept, understanding, knowledge before one decides whether one wants to continue with the reverse mortgage program. We'll consider how we can make this happen, and we'll continue with our discussion with the Hong Kong Mortgage Corporation Limited. Well, members have great interest in silver economy, and we do want to see development in the silver economy. We've overrun by half an hour. So we look forward to more interactions between the administration and members. I thank ITIB, FSTB, and the CEDB as well as Deputy CS for joining us today. Next agenda item, we have the CSTB to brief us on the Chief Executive's 2024 policy address. Members who would like to speak, please press the button to request to speak.
Zai. 好，歡迎呢。
Welcome Deputy CS, Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism, and their team to join us. I'd like to invite the Deputy CS to give us introductory remarks. Deputy CS, Deputy Chair, members, in the previous section, we already told members that the Chief Executive mentioned setting up a number of committees and working groups to further enhance leadership and cross-bureau coordination mechanisms and to fully leverage the leading and coordinating functions of secretaries and deputy secretaries of department. Apart from the working group on promoting silver economy, I also lead the working group on developing tourist hotspots. The Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism will be the deputy leader. There is a wealth of unique tourism resources across different districts in Hong Kong, including cuisine, intangible cultural heritage, historic buildings, outlying islands, rural areas, popular culture of anime, performing arts, film and television culture, local culture including festivals and traditional customs, and so on. There is vast potential to develop more tourist hotspots. The working group is therefore tasked with strengthening cross-departmental collaboration and leveraging community efforts in order to identify and develop tourist hotspots of high popularity and with strong appeal in various districts, As the leader of the working group, I will coordinate and supervise projects that require collaboration across departments, sectors, and society. So we will encourage units to understand, respond to, and embrace changes in order to pursue the concept of tourism is everywhere in Hong Kong. Members of the working group include the secretaries of the CEDB, Development Bureau, Environment and Ecology Bureau, Home and Youth Affairs Bureau, Transport and Logistics Bureau, and the Security Bureau, as well as the heads of Department of the Tourism Commission, LCSD, and the HAD. We will also invite other bureaus, departments, or stakeholders to partake in the discussion and implementation of individual projects if need be. We will also liaise with the relevant organizations, groups, individuals, and enterprises. We're going to convene the first meeting on the 8th of November, the coming Friday. We'll consider proposed projects with development potential in districts. We will also coordinate the communication between bureaus and stakeholders. We plan to decide what key projects to be implemented in the first half of 2025. That concludes my introduction. I will now give the floor to the Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism to take members through other key tourism-related initiatives in the policy address. Thank you. Deputy Chairman, cross-boundary travel resumed last February. Our tourism industry began to recover at full speed. Over 4 million visitor arrivals were recorded in October this year. The first 10 months of this year recorded 36.6 million visitor arrivals, a year-on-year increase of 37%. During the National Day Golden Week, over 1.22 million mainland visitors arrived in Hong Kong. Non-mainland visitor arrivals also saw a gradual increase, peaking in October this year with over 950,000. In the past year, we proactively implemented a number of measures to give full play to the strengths of integration of culture, sports, and tourism. In January this year, we established the Tourism Strategy Committee and the Working Group on Smart Tourism, both of which are led by me. They promote the further development of the tourism industry to lay a solid foundation for shaping a new tourism landscape in Hong Kong. I'll now talk about the tourism-related initiatives in the 2024 policy address. We will set up a working group on developing tourist hotspots, as introduced by the Deputy Secretary just now. We will shape a new tourism landscape with an innovative mindset to develop the concept of tourism is everywhere in Hong Kong. We will publish the development blueprint for Hong Kong's tourism industry 2.0 and the action plan on the development of cruise tourism within this year. On developing tourism products with characteristics, we will develop ecotourism and explore more itineraries with characteristics related to the countryside and coastal routes. We will also enhance related amenities. Relevant bureaus such as the EEB and the Development Bureau will also take part in such work. The Security Bureau and Development Bureau will take forward cultural and ecotourism in shuttlecock and yacht tourism respectively. We will also actively promote panda tourism and horse racing tourism. We will actively encourage various sectors of society to enhance tourism support measures for creating a friendly environment for visitors from the Middle East and ASEAN. Measures include the provision of worship facilities in hotels and halal food in restaurants. We want to create a tourist-friendly environment through the provision of information in Arabic at the airport and in taxis. We have proposed to the central government further enhancements on mainland residents' tourism visit endorsements to Hong Kong. The Mega Events Coordination Group, which is led by the Deputy Financial Secretary, will also proactively attract mega events to be organized in Hong Kong with the aim of enhancing our status as an events capital of Asia. In order to consolidate the appeal of traditional tourism and further enhancing our reputation as a city of gastronomy, the Tourism Board will draw up a gourmet guide covering the 18 districts to promote gourmet food in different districts. In addition, the Tourism Board will step up its efforts in developing the and promoting tourism products with Hong Kong characteristics to both locals and visitors. AI will be leveraged to promote smart tourism in order to develop and promote more tourism projects with Hong Kong characteristics. We will also launch a new outstanding service award scheme to consolidate our hospitality culture so as to enhance the service quality of the tourism industry. The integrated development of culture, sports, and tourism strengthens the substance of tourism. The CSTB is committed to creating distinctive and unique cultural activities that attract visitors to illustrate the principle of shaping tourism with cultural activities and promoting culture through tourism. We'll continue to host large-scale international sports events. Hong Kong, jointly with Guangdong and Macau, will co-host the 15th National Games and the 12th NGDSO in 2025. We'll make good use of large-scale sports infrastructures to attract more visitors to Hong Kong, enhancing our status as a center for mega international sports events. We'll continue to foster the integrated development of culture, sports, and tourism to shape a new tourism landscape and foster economic diversification. We have Mr. Jeffrey Lam, Dr. Dick Chi, Mr. Chen Xi-hong, Mr. Lam Kwong, Mr. Stephen Hong, Mr. Benson Lo, Mr. Elizabeth Kwong, Mr. Lok Chung Hong, Mr. Brave Chan, Mr. Perry Yu, Mr. Ring Kong, and Mr. Frankie Yak, a total of 12 members. Mr. Jeffrey Lam, please. Thank you, Deputy Chair. We need to boost the local economy, and we need to boost all aspects in Hong Kong. Nighttime economy, tourism is everywhere, in-depth tourism. In Hong Kong, we have a lot of initiatives, but the concept of tourism changes in a lot of places around the world. Visitors no longer want to have entertainment on travel. Many of them want to experience the culture and local customs while they are traveling. Shopping paradise is only one of the strengths of Hong Kong in relation to tourism. We want to develop tourism, and we want to be hailed as different paradises. We need to take a proactive approach. We need to roll out tourism-related measures. We also need to attract visitors to come to Hong Kong and to spend in Hong Kong. I hope the administration will consider having nighttime economy. The Pearl of the Orient is a popular song in Hong Kong. The Pearl of the Orient, a city that never sleeps. It used to be an icon of Hong Kong. We used to be a city that never sleeps. However, on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays, shops close rather early, and that is not ideal. How can we bring prosperity back to Hong Kong? That's the question. Last week, we had Halloween. Lan Kwai Fong, a lot of people were in Lan Kwai Fong. Many people came from overseas places. Some of them came from the mainland. Lan Kwai Fong was bustling with people and visitors. If we can reshape Hong Kong into a city that never sleeps, it may be worth the efforts. I also suggest that the government should seize the opportunities. In the mainland, there's a soap opera, which is hugely popular in Hong Kong as well. In the soap opera, there are Shanghai gourmet items, say butterfly pastries. A lot of people are fascinated by the relevant gourmet items. Some of them even went to Shanghai to look for such gourmet items. We have Wall Kowloon City. There's a backdrop at the Hong Kong International Airport. So we may probably introduce the elements of AI as well. So we can target these popular items, say the opera I just now mentioned, Blossom Shanghai, in order to boost the tourism industry. Secretary, thank you, Deputy Chair, thank you, Member. We're on the same page. We think alike. We need to diversify our tourism initiatives. Visitors arrive in Hong Kong with different travel plans. They may want to have in-depth itineraries, some of them like our harbor, some of them even like the nighttime economy in Hong Kong. So we need to leverage our unique characteristics in order to attract different visitors. Then we can boost local economy. We had Halloween last week. We also had Hong Kong Wine and Dine Festival. We attracted a total of we attracted a lot of visitors to Hong Kong. So we'll continue to take stock of the consumption patterns and their travel preferences in order to formulate more travel plans. Our aim, as members said, is to cater to the different needs of different visitors. At the same time, we also want to boost the local economy. I thank members for the opinions. One more member has pressed a button to request to speak, Mr. Sunny Tan. In the interest of time, questions and answers included 3 minutes. Next member, Dr. Tick.
Thank you, Chair. In the policy address, a lot of ideas have been promoted in the policy address. Most have my support, except horse racing tourism. Irrespective of the way you package it, it is a form of gambling. You either win some money or you lose when you go there. So horse racing, we know that we have got pathetic gamblers as a result. Now you're going to promote horse racing tourism. Will there be any lowering of the age of those who can be admitted? Currently, it is set at 18. If you lower the age limit, I will object to it. Well, the horse racing course is a gambling place. If you allow young children to go there, then they will lower their guard against gambling. Those who are not yet fully mature in terms of their emotional or other developments, it will be bad. Now, for parents and teachers, it is already a difficult task to teach our young people or our children. So please don't confuse their values. Dr. Tick, is it a suggestion or a question? I hope the administration would consider the rationale behind this idea. Well, if you look around our region, for horse racing, I think Hong Kong is the only place that can boost a decent horse racing event. Well, we are saying that perhaps we can make use of horse racing activities to drive tourism. So our target is at tourists. As to whether the age limit will be lowered, we have yet to study the matter carefully. But then horse racing is an attractive event in the eyes of the tourists. As to how we can get more tourists by attracting them to the horse racing events so that they have got a fresh or a brand new experience. Well, of course, we have to make sure that we all abide by the law and you should be properly regulated. Again, we have to balance the needs of the society. Every year, the Hong Kong Jockey Club organizes international top-class events. In fact, it is a mega event, and it can attract many overseas visitors to come here, stay for a few days, and spend their money. So it is regarded as a mega event. So we can join hands with the Jockey Club so as to use this occasion to attract more visitors. That's our idea. Thank you. Next, Mr. Chen Xiu-hong. Thank you, Chair. For this year's policy address, when it comes to culture, sports, and tourism, when compared with last year's policy address, I see that we have seen huge progress. Last year, as a result of the backdrop of the pandemic, we were not that optimistic about our future, and it was sort of quite conservative. But this year, I think the administration, in particular the secretary, has tried to integrate culture, sports, and tourism. It is good. and I know that you will be carrying this out gradually. Well, you have said that we have to make good use of the Kai Tak Sports Park and other ancillary facilities. Well, we must learn from the experience of the cruise terminal. Now, for the Kai Tak Sports Park, if you want to make good use of it, then you need to have mega events, all sorts of activities, and you have to make good use of the F&B facilities. I think you have to make sure that the Kai Tak Sports Park and its ancillary facilities, including shopping, entertainment, F&B, etc., should be put to good use all around the year. Bearing in mind our experience of the cruise terminal, we have to make sure that around the year, 365 years, we use the facilities. Don't just leave it until we have got mega events. Otherwise, there will be many days on which we don't have anything on the Kai Tak site. I agree with the Secretary in relation to horse racing tourism. We have to make good use of existing facilities. We have got the race course in Sha Tin and the one in Happy Valley. I think the facilities are of world-class standards, but then the facilities are only put to use when there is a race day. But then elsewhere in the world, on non-racing days, they would also organize activities, or they would allow tourist groups to stay for another night so that they will go to the races. Even for family tours, there may be young children in Japan and elsewhere in the world. They can find a way to make sure that children and families will be segregated from the gambling-related information and facilities at the race course. Please also listen to us. Make sure that you don't encourage gambling as a result. I'm sure if you have the will, you will be able to do that. That is, make use of the horse racing to drive tourism. Secretary. Well, first of all, horse racing tourism. As the member said, our target is to attract tourists, to have another item to choose from. So we are not trying to attract more local people to take part in gambling or to take part in horse racing. This is not what has been suggested in the policy address. As to the use of the facilities, again, the Kai Tak Sports Park is very different from the Kai Tak Cruise Terminal. When the cruise terminal was designed and built, it's mainly a terminal, and it's not the same as a sports park. For the sports park, we have got indoor venues, and we've also got other shopping facilities. When we don't have sports events, we can allow local people to go there to have ball games. So in fact, it is a sports arena, and on ordinary days, people can book the facility. There is also a huge park outside the arena, and you can go there as well. In the long term, as to how we can partner with the operator to host more activities, I think we can certainly give more thought to that. Maybe during weekends, we have more family fun days, etc. So when the sports park is commissioned, we can give more thought to that. Currently, testing is ongoing. That is, we want to see how we can have smooth crowd control when we have events. So after it's been commissioned, we have more time to consider your ideas. If I may put in a quick point, well, upon the commissioning of the sports park, it will be surrounded by a lot of construction sites, and then people could go there for the first time, may easily lose their way. So make sure that you have proper signage to guide people to go around the place. Yes, this is being done 2 weeks ago, we had a test run, and then no one complained about losing their way and couldn't find the place. Next, Mr. Leung Man Kwong. Thank you, Chair. Regarding the policy address proposal to set up a working group to have more hotspots, I think we have high hopes. People want to come here to find something that is unique to Hong Kong rather than something that can be seen or found elsewhere in the world. So I do have high hopes concerning the work of the working group. But then, end of this week, the working group will be holding its first meeting. Can you elaborate on the work of the working group on developing tourist hotspots? Are you going to identify new hotspots? Now, the Yau Ma Tei police station is probably one of them. For Yau Ma Tei police station, maybe it can be grouped together with Temple Street, Yong Shu Tao, and the other places in Yau Ma Tei. Then the development will be quite different from just having a single hotspot on its own. And then some tourists may want to come here to look at the culture of our public housing estate. Now, So Oak Estate will be redeveloped, and I know that people would like to learn about the history. And then there are also other bridges spanning over the bays, and they are attractive. So there are tourists who want to have very interesting themes when they go on the tours. So what is our approach? Are you going to come up with 50 hotspots? And how are you going to screen them? So can you not elaborate on the process? Secretary or Deputy CS, if I may tackle the question regarding the 2 points made by Mr. Leung, that is, he would like to know about the screening criteria. We've already said that soon we're having our meeting. In fact, this week, when we have our meeting, we will be joined by representatives from different bureaus. We have some ideas in mind, and we will just check whether they can be pursued further. At the meeting, of course, we will invite through the Home and Youth Affairs Bureau as well as the Home Affairs Department. In fact, the Director Bureau and the department head are also present at the meeting. We'll ask the 18 districts to come up with ideas. We don't impose a rigid rule as to how many hotspots from each district. They must be unique and have local characteristics. As Mr. Leung has rightly pointed out, it must be unique to Hong Kong. It won't be that attractive if you have something similar elsewhere. So it can be a single hotspot, or depending on the needs, we have no hard and fast rule. Or maybe we can have a particular location with a number of hotspots. What we want to achieve is that in terms of the approach or the direction, it must be something new. It could be a new hotspot, or it could be an existing hotspot or existing attraction, but not quite popular. Or maybe we can have an existing facility, but then we are enriching it by having new elements. It must be interesting, it must be attractive. So we have to look at it from the perspective of a tourist. As to the screening criteria and the gathering of information, well, of course, the Hong Kong Tourist Commission and the Tourism Board have been doing that. Now, we have to make sure that such will become must-go destinations, and people will find it regrettable if they miss it. Sometimes we could be, sometimes if you introduce or recommend attractions that would only appeal to a minority, then it may not be that good. So probably you can say that we will look at the existing tourism resources. Our food, our coastline, our rural areas, our TV and film culture, all such are possible candidates for us to identify possible hotspots. The working group will have a discussion. It will be difficult to say that at what stage we're going to get input from a particular sector. Sometimes we may need to appeal to the local people, the local community to seek their partnership and support or cooperation. So depending on the circumstances, we can't generalize. That's our approach.
多謝。
Thank you, Deputy CS. Next, Mr. Stephen Ho. Thank you, Deputy Chair. I'd like to speak about paragraph 25, that is Hong Kong as a gourmet paradise. You mentioned integrating Chinese and Western food cultures. Well, simply put, you have a hodgepodge of gourmet culture. But it may not catch up with the tourism demand in the future. We do need focus and foundation in this regard. Hong Kong is a place where the East meets the West. We need a theme. We are definitely the gateway of China to the world. We have a lot of Chinese cuisine. Cantonese cuisine is also one of the cuisine styles. If we can attract overseas visitors to Hong Kong to sample different Chinese cuisines, then we can promote Chinese food, probably of Sichuan style. Then we can promote the culture of the mainland city as well. We can work with mainland cities to bring the gourmet food, the gourmet item from mainland cities to Hong Kong. Then we can boost the economy. We aren't just relying on the Hong Kong Tourism Commission. When it comes to local food culture, we need to promote the culture of live meat. In mainland China, in some of the cities, they don't have live chicken, live pig, live pork, for example. They only have frozen meat. So we can promote the culture of live meat. In paragraph 16, ecotourism and outlying island tours. We lack a platform. While we may need to explore more new venues, new areas, but we lack a platform. It's difficult for us to enhance our capacity. As I mentioned in the council, which ship or ship owners offer quality services in areas, say the Southern District, Tuen Mun, Sai Kung, Tai O, we need to select some places. So these places can set aside an area. It doesn't have to be a large area. Probably an area of the size of this room. Then we can promote competition within the industry. Then overseas visitors have choices. That's exactly how we can promote tourism in Hong Kong. There may not be enough time, and the administration can provide a reply after the meeting in writing, or the administration can even provide supplementary information in a motion debate later on. Secretary. We can consider how we can promote thematic gourmet food. We can promote food materials on a monthly basis. That is something we can consider. But it doesn't affect our introduction of a diversity of gourmet cultures in Hong Kong. Visitors may want to try different food apart from the food item or food culture we introduce. Well, Secretary, we can develop outlying island tours and we can discuss with members later on. Next, Mr. Benson Look. Thank you, Deputy Chair. Mega events economy and sports economy are close to my heart. Between paragraphs 32 and 35, they focus on driving tourism development through sports. I support this general direction. But visitors are invited to Hong Kong as spectators. However, we need to think how we can attract visitors to become participants in sports. Let me give you some examples. We have running. There are running matches. According to the relevant figures, there were 699 nationwide road races. In London Marathon, the number of applicants reached 840,000. Be it mainland China or other places around the world, attracting visitors to go to a certain place to play sports, this is actually a major strategy. Many members of the public in Hong Kong join road races in other places as well. Many of these visitors are overnight visitors. Aside from attracting visitors to come to Hong Kong as spectators, how we can invite visitors to join sports, to participate in sports. So we'll become a must-go place for mainland visitors as well as mainland visitors. They'll come to Hong Kong to participate in different sports. We have dragon boat races, we have marathons, we have a wide array of sports events attracting visitors. We need to make it popular. We need to hold more events. We need to host more sports events. So when we have got started with these plans, then we need to see how many participants we can accommodate in Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, we don't even have sufficient space for Hong Kong participants in marathons. We need to reduce the inconvenience caused to members of the public as well. I completely agree with you about the direction. We need to host more sports events, more mega events. We also welcome visitors to participate in sports in Hong Kong. We'll try to host more sports events after taking into account different factors. Next, Ms. Elizabeth Quat. Thank you, Deputy Chair. I support the promotion of tourism development through sports. We need to do all that we can do in order to attract visitors to come to Hong Kong. I didn't see the development of low-altitude tourism in the information paper. In different cities in mainland China, in different tourist attractions, they are already piloting low-altitude tourism. I find it very attractive. With Mr. Perry Yu, we went to mainland China and we tried going up in the air on an unmanned vehicle. We were thrilled to be able to enjoy the view from the air. Many enterprises are willing to invest in Hong Kong. We need to consider developing low-altitude tourism in existing tourist hotspots. Ocean Park Disneyland, if we can incorporate the element of low altitude economy or low altitude tourism, then we can enhance the appeal of Hong Kong. We can also capitalize on the wealth of tourism resources in Hong Kong. Not many people have gone to the Zoological Park in Hong Kong. Not many visitors can spend a day in zoological parks or geoparks. That's exactly why they give up on this tourist attraction. But if we can make good use of low altitude tourism to enjoy geopark as well as the coastline, then this will be attractive to visitors. It is fast. It is not costly either. We have Victoria Harbour tours. We have helicopter tours, but it's very expensive. It costs thousands of dollars. In Tsim Sha Tsui, in Victoria Harbour, there are tourist attractions. There are many no-flying areas near Victoria Harbour. Even if there is no low-altitude airspace management, different altitudes are referenced to design flight routes. So different low-altitude vehicles can use the low-altitude space. We have GFS for search and rescue mission, but if we can divide the airspace to allow different vehicles or different low-altitude vehicles to use, then we can. Well, Ms. Elizabeth Quad, please ask your questions. Well, I hope the administration can provide the action agenda on developing low-altitude tourism. The Deputy Financial Secretary is leading a group on developing low-altitude economy. The CSTB is also one of the bureaus on the working group. We have identified low-altitude tourism. We'll promote low-altitude tourism at full steam. Thank you, Deputy Chair. We have one more agenda item to go through, so please, members, please be succinct as possible. Next member, Mr. Luk Chung Hong. 3 points. 1. I support horse racing tourism. It is a traditional characteristic in Hong Kong. It can also showcase our culture of East meeting West. I believe there will be measures segregating children from the race course, so that is not my cause for concern. We have 5,200 odd licensed tour guides, but not many of them are well up in the history of island tours. One of the experts in this area, Mr. So Man Heng, I talked to Mr. So in Kat O, Ngap Chau. The tourist attractions are rich in historical content, substances, so we can see how we can, we need to see how we can train tour guides that are well versed in the historical context of different tourist attractions. I'd like to talk about green culture as well. There are a lot of restrictions when it comes to having hostels in the suburb areas. The government mentioned providing facilitation measures, and I want to know the latest progress. When I went to mainland China, they have agriculture, gourmet food with special characteristics. We can attract tourists. We can attract visitors to this area to sample different gourmet items. Secretary, we have tour guides of tourist attractions. We can discuss with the relevant operators for manned tourist attractions, they can provide docent tours. So we'll discuss with them how to make enhancements. For general tour guides, they bring tourists to a certain place. In a policy address, we mentioned developing outlying island tours. We'll consider the training of tour guides as well as manpower resources. That's part of our work in the future. Next, in relation to hostels or F&B, members need to understand why the government needs to regulate hostels and so on. That's because we want to protect public interests. We'll continue to liaise with the relevant departments. No matter how much we want to promote certain activities, the safety of customers is at the top of the agenda. That is our uppermost concern.
Next, Mr. Chen Yong. Please don't put those articles there. Well, in fact, Panda is everywhere, like tourism is everywhere. Well, I understand that there may be a private museum for C. Ronaldo to be set up next year in Hong Kong. I think it will be good. It will make our tourism more international. Well, for the tourism is every year in Hong Kong, whether eco-tourism, yacht tourism, horse racing tourism, or panda tourism, they all have our support. For panda tourism, the DAB carried out a survey. Well, professionally speaking, panda should become the core of the relevant industry. We should develop a lot of products using panda as our prototype. We can also set up tourist attractions riding on the theme of pandas. And can you elaborate on that? We have got 6 pandas, so maybe we can have a boost of our GDP by tens of billions of dollars, benefiting all the entire community. An and He is for Hong Kong as a whole. Can we all share the benefits of the IP and not confine it to the ocean park or a particular enterprise? I think in this way, the economic benefits can benefit everybody and every sector in Hong Kong. Then there is the true sense of panda economy to me. So can the Secretary or the Deputy Chief Secretary for Administration elaborate more on that? Secretary, thank you, Chair. Regarding the possible opening of a museum by a famous soccer star, well, we are following this up actively. But then this is a private project. We try our best to carry out coordination. We do encourage the project to be sort of introduced, and we try to overcome the problems. But of course, it is being run on commercial principles. And the second question is about pandas. Well, we have got 2 more pandas, An and He. We believe that towards the end of this year or early next year, they can meet the public. Currently, we are having naming competition and painting competition for the pandas. Well, in fact, throughout Hong Kong, many people are riding on the popularity of the pandas, and they have launched different services and products. With the 2 newly arriving pandas and the 2 panda cubs born in Hong Kong, all of them will be able to meet the public early next year. I'm sure the panda popularity will continue. Well, for IP, well, of course, the benefit will go to the creator. but then you may have photos. The ocean park may take photos and the ocean park may come up with Panda products. Then the IP would belong to the ocean park. After all, the pandas are gifts from the central peoples of government, and the 2 panda cubs are born from the pandas we have already got. So the IP arising from the pandas themselves would belong to Hong Kong as a whole. Mr. Patrick Yiu, I am grateful to the CE for having so much to be said on tourism in his policy address. In his opening remarks, the Secretary talked about the October figures. Well, in fact, in that month, the number of arrivals peaked in the year 2024. So we believe that taking the year as a whole will have more than 10 million arrivals. We need to continue to work harder because the resumption or the recovery of tourism will be important for our economy. I take this opportunity to put a question to the Deputy CS, Mr. Lemon Guang, asked a question about the approach to be taken up by the working group on developing tourist hotspots. The Deputy CS did elaborate on that. I can see that the government took this matter seriously. And then 7 directors of bureaus and 3 department heads will take part in the work of the working group. So it appears to me that it is pitched at a very high level within the government. Well, other than the government departments and bureaus getting involved, would you turn to the sectors or the professionals? I'm sure they can have a lot of constructive input for you in relation to the development of tourist hotspots. In this way, the working group can work more effectively. For hotspots, sometimes it may be a spot or a line or a patch or a zone. Sometimes you need to consider the district as a whole, or you may have to consider a particular tourist route made up of a number of hotspots. I'm sure those who are experienced will be more than happy to help the government and provide input to you. So, Deputy CS4A, would you consider that? Yes, briefly, please. We are having a working group, and internally we will gather our views. And of course, we would welcome input from people outside of the working group. Mr. Yiu, please look at our paper. We have said that we will liaise with the relevant sector concerning particular ideas. Well, if you think that you have got new ideas that we haven't got them in mind yet, I'm sure you can talk to the Tourism Commission or the Culture, Sports and Tourism Bureau. Let us know, and then they will be included on the agenda of the working group. And of course, you can write to my office directly. Thank you. I will extend the meeting time by 15 minutes up to 6:45. Members, please be as concise as possible so that we can allow the public officers more time to answer the questions. Mr. Frankie Yik. Well, it is said that we need to further promote the cruise terminal and the cruise tourism. You have my support. We have the relaxation by the Marine Department so that the cruise vessels can make use of the center fairway. We have got the Commissioner for Tourism and the Undersecretary for CST here. We welcome the idea because tourists would like to have such a cruise trip via the Victoria Harbour. And then for island hopping, again, you have my support. In Hong Kong, many people like to have outdoor camping. Mr. Chen Hempen hasn't come today, but surely he will fully support the idea. I got this idea. We got a group of Australians coming to Hong Kong just to have hiking. I have taken to the trails as well. I see overseas visitors and local people. Many of them like to camp outdoors. So at Yan Zhao Tong, maybe you can provide some basic facilities. And then you should take up the idea of Elizabeth Quad, that is development of the low altitude economy. I think maybe you just ask a store to send over beer and snacks by using the unmanned aircraft. Then it will be an excellent idea and a very good arrangement. Yes, we can certainly consider that. You can imagine that it will take some time before the idea can be implemented. You're spot on. You really want to explore the feasibility of certain hotspots as well as the unusual experience that we can allow the tourists to try. So we're willing to consider things that we haven't tried in Hong Kong before. Noted. Next, Mr. Sunny Tang. He is not in the chamber. Well, in this case, I would like to thank the Secretary as well as his colleagues for taking part. And next, let's move on to the third part of the agenda. So please get the officers from the Transport and Logistics Bureau to join us. For those who would like to ask questions, please press the button if you wish to speak. First of all, let me welcome Mr. Lam Sai Hong, Secretary for Transport and Logistics, as well as his team. I'd like to give the floor to the Secretary to brief us on the relevant initiatives in the policy address. I think he would like to make use of a PowerPoint to present his points. Thank you, Chair. Since full resumption of normal travel early last year, air traffic has been recovering steadily, and we have announced the action plan on maritime and port development strategy, as well as the action plan on modern logistics development. There will be more measures to enhance our status as an international aviation hub, international shipping center, international logistics hub, and will develop low altitude economy. First of all, international aviation hub. Well, the Hong Kong IA's daily passenger throughput during peak season have recovered to around 85% of their pre-pandemic level, and we again became the world's busiest cargo airport. And 130 airlines provided flights to nearly 200 destinations, about 90% of the pre-pandemic level. The 3 runway system will be commissioned on the 28th of this month. To ride on this opportunity, we will expand the aviation network. There will be more flights and more destinations, in particular civil aviation cooperation with the Belt and Road countries. And we'll have more cooperation with the Zhuhai Airport. We'll enhance the fly via Zhuhai Hong Kong direct passenger service so that we have better synergy effect. For the construction of the airport, together with the AA, we will enhance the scale of the airport city, doubling it, and there will be high-end commercial, tourist, and leisure activities. We expect to finish the development plan in the first half of next year in relation to the development, and we will promote the existing project. Towards the end of next year, we'll have the autonomous transportation system to carry passengers along the airport city link. For cargo, the airport authority, together with the Dongguan City, will be promoting the sea-air intermodal cargo transshipment mode. This will cut the cost and lower the and shorten the time needed. The Hong Kong IA Dongguan Logistics Park will have the first stage construction of the Phase 1 permanent facility. Upon completion, then we will have over 1 million tons per annum for the cargo handling capacity, and we're working on the advancement of the second stage development. And in addition, the air transshipment cargo exemption scheme will also be carried out. And then for green aviation, we've completed the study on sustainable aviation fuel. And next year, we'll announce the usage target. And then for International Shipping Center, in the first half of next year, we will reconstitute the Hong Kong Maritime and Port Board into the Hong Kong Maritime and Port Development Board. It will be a high-level advisory body, and it will formulate policies, and there will be long-term development strategies. It will be headed by a non-official, and there will be members from the relevant sectors, and there will be more research efforts as well.
The government will finish setting up a port community system PCS next year. Functions include shipment tracking, real-time transport information, electronic information and document retrieval, as well as port data analytics. Information interconnectivity among stakeholders in the maritime, port and logistics industries will be enhanced. The government has been committed to promoting the development of high-value-added maritime services. We'll start up promotion of existing tax concessionary measures for maritime services and enhance the preferential tax regime. We will announce the findings of the study in the first half of 2025, followed by the legislative exercise. In addition, the presence and operation of commodity traders in Hong Kong can drive the maritime services industry. We'll explore the introduction of tax concessions and support measures to attract relevant enterprises in the mainland and overseas to set up businesses in Hong Kong. We are committed to developing Hong Kong into a green maritime fuel bunkering center. We will announce the action plan on green maritime fuel bunkering later this year to support the green transformation of the maritime industry. I will now talk about International Logistics Hub. The government will continue to enhance its strength in high-value-added logistics services and is implementing the action measures under the Action Plan on Modern Logistics Development in an orderly manner. In the future, we will release 4 quality logistics sites for the industry to develop modern, high-end, multi-story logistics facilities. The findings of the planning study on the development of modern logistics clusters in Hung Shui Kiu, Hachun NDA will be published next year. The government will also continue to strengthen logistics cooperation with the western part of Guangdong and other neighboring areas, make good use of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, expand our cargo catchment, and facilitate more transshipment through Hong Kong. Finally, we will promote the development of low-altitude economy full steam ahead. The government will set up the working group on developing LAE, which will formulate development strategies and inter-departmental action plans. Starting from early 2025, we will take forward pilot projects progressively, exploring different low-altitude flying application scenarios by setting up regulatory sandboxes. Meanwhile, the government is looking at amending legislation, including relaxing restrictions on flying beyond visual line of sight, as well as on weight and carriage of goods by unmanned aircraft. The government will also study whether it needs to draw up legislation on unmanned aircraft carrying passengers. The government will also enhance the interfacing with the mainland and explore the joint development of cross-boundary routes, immigration and customs clearance arrangements, and infrastructure support, etc. The working group will commence technical studies and planning for the development of low-altitude physical facilities, communication networks, flight route networks, and management, etc. in the first half of 2025. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Holden Chow, Mr. Chen Siu-Hong, Mr. Perry Yu, Mr. Frankie Yik, and myself, 3 members in total. First member, Mr. Holden Chow. Thank you, Chairman. Secretary, it's me again. The Secretary said that he would officially answer the question today. I'd like to ask about high-value-added shipping business. In June 2023, I asked a question about upgrading the Hong Kong Maritime Board. I'm glad to see that the administration has taken on board my view, upgrading the Hong Kong MPB into Hong Kong Maritime and Port Development Board. After the upgrading of the Hong Kong Maritime and Port Board, I believe the Hong Kong Maritime and Port Development Board will enjoy a higher status. For study, policy, there will be enhancements. Will you make better use of this quasi-official organization? Many people in the industry said the secretary or the permanent secretary cannot visit different corners of the globe to reach out to different stakeholders. We need to compete for financing to have more enterprises to set up operation in Hong Kong to enlarge the cluster. We need to play catch up. We cannot rely on our officials to visit different corners of the globe. Can we make better use of the upgraded Hong Kong Maritime and Port Development Board? Can you give the board more authority to reach out to different places and to solicit their support so that they will consider establishing presence in Hong Kong in the future? What is your take on it, Secretary? Next, for Commodity Trading Center. It was mentioned in the policy address this year, ship owners move with the goods. If we can build a commodity trading center, then ship owners will consider coming to Hong Kong. What measures will you consider, say tax concessions, storage arrangements, warehouse arrangements? Do you have the relevant measures? 2 questions. In the interest of time, 3 minutes for each member, or just about 3 minutes. Secretary. We'll make good use of the opportunity. We set up the Hong Kong Maritime and Port Development Board just because we want to leverage community power. We want to make good use of the Hong Kong Maritime and Port Development Board. We can work together to take forward port development. Regarding commodity trading, they account for over half of maritime shipping. We want to build a commodity trading ecosystem so that we can drive the services and demand for maritime services. For storage services or warehouse arrangements, we are studying how we can provide concessions. The aim is to attract more commodity traders to set up presence in Hong Kong. Next member, Mr. Chen Siu-hong. Thank you, Deputy Chair. Paragraph 32 to 34, developing LAE, low altitude economy. It is also mentioned in the policy address. There is a working group led by the Deputy Financial Secretary and the Secretary. I pin high hopes on the government for developing low altitude economy. They are going to hold the first meeting tomorrow. We want to develop low altitude economy. It's not just about logistics arrangements. We need to think how we can work with the GBA to drive the economy with the industry chain. What role does Hong Kong play? How can we collaborate with the mainland cities or the cities in the GBA? I hope the working group will consider using an economy policy-oriented approach. In the not-too-distant future, you will invite the sector to provide pilot areas. Will you consider reviewing CAP 448G? Don't just patch up the existing regulation regarding unmanned aircraft. You need a brand new ordinance. It cannot be done by amending the regulation. I understand we need to take it step by step. We need to make amendments to allow the industry to use pilot areas. In the annex, in the KPI, in the first half of 2025, you will consider relaxing the relevant restrictions. That is the relaxation of restrictions on the weight and carriage of goods by unmanned aircraft. Yesterday, when I talked to the secretary, I hope there will be a cross-boundary, cross-departmental working group to take forward conveyance of goods from city to city. One more point. Paragraph 25 of the information paper. There will be an action plan on green maritime fuel bunkering. I agree with it. That will be conducive to enhancing Hong Kong's status as a green fuel bunkering center. Which ports are we going to work with? Apart from green maritime fuel bunkering, will you considering methanol bunkering and so on? Other types of fuel? Well, I will extend the meeting by an additional 15 minutes to 7 o'clock. Members, any objection? No objection, will continue. Secretary, your brief reply, please. Regarding low altitude economy LAE, we have sufficient communication with Mr. Chen. In my opinion, LAE has vast potential. It can act as a new growth engine. From my perspective, indeed, we need to think how we can provide cross-boundary services in relation to legislative amendments. We don't start our work only after the meeting. We actually have been making advanced preparation. We want to take it step by step. For the first step, we want to relax the restriction in relation to weight. So at least we can take the first step. Afterwards, is it necessary to amend CAP 44 AG regulation, or do we need to draw up a new ordinance? We'll have to take the first step, then we think about the next step. In relation to cross-boundary services, we'll work on clearance arrangements. We'll work with mainland China to review our work. When low-altitude economy is buoyant, then we need to work with the GBA to foster interconnectivity. That is our foundation. Otherwise, we'll waste our development potential in LAE. In relation to fuel bunkering, actually not just liquefied natural gas, we also have biofuel, methanol, and so on. All these will be covered in the action plan on green maritime fuel bunkering. We'll consider the provision of new energy as well. Well, Secretary, please be brief. Next, Mr. Perry Yu. Thank you, Deputy Chair. In a policy address this year, we can see the development of SAF is close to heart of the industry. The government is attaching a lot of importance to it. In 2025, there will be concrete goals. This is music to our ears. In relation to manpower resources, that is close to our heart as well. When the three runway system comes into operation, manpower resources are close to our hearts. I'd like to ride on Mr. Chan Siu-hong's plan. I mean his point. In paragraph 33, you mentioned you would consider whether you need to draw up legislation which is forward-looking and flexible, dedicated to passenger-carrying unmanned aircraft. It is necessary to do so, especially when it comes to cross-boundary services. We need to think about co-location arrangements, especially for helicopters, low-altitude unmanned aircraft, for existing BAC or helicopter. We need to think how we can put in place a co-location mechanism with the GBA. That's exactly how we can achieve effectiveness. The administration has been promoting intermodal transshipment mode with the Hong Kong International Airport. For high-speed rail, we have a major source of visitors from high-speed rail. We have a lot of visitors from the high-speed rail. So how can we achieve synergy through rail, air, through the high-speed rail services? Then we can attract more visitors to come to Hong Kong. We can also increase the footfall using the Hong Kong International Airport. That will drive the airport throughput. When it comes to the handling of baggage, or when it comes to the support measures, how can we achieve synergy through railway air? In the future, we will develop cruise industry. So how we can enhance collaboration in this regard, we may need to think about this.
Thank you, Chair. Regarding Mr. Yu's question concerning cross-boundary arrangements, we need to consider the clearance and immigration arrangements. He also talked about co-location. And co-location can certainly be considered when it comes to the development of low-altitude economy. If we can identify facilities for co-location of the facilities, then it will be good. But then if we confine it to a single spot only, then it will be very restrictive, and then it may not help. But still, regarding this matter, we will talk to the mainland and try to see how we can facilitate the cross-boundary traffic in this regard. As to the rail, air intermodal arrangements, well, people will take the high-speed train to go to our airport to take a flight, or they will ride on a cruise. For such intermodal arrangements, we need to liaise with Mr. Yuan's bureau. We have to make sure that the journey will be smooth. The member talked about the handling of baggage. If it is a matter of immediate transshipment, then things have to be quick. or somebody may want to stay here for half a day to engage in some sort of events or business, then it's a different story. So we need to talk to the Hong Kong IA, the MTRCL, airlines, etc. And we'll certainly follow this up. Next, Mr. Frankie Yik. Thank you, Chair. In the interest of time, I would ask fewer questions. First of all, paragraph 11. And that's about the extension of the air transshipment cargo exemption scheme to the intermodal cargo transshipment modes. I think this is quite similar to the case of the heat not burn cigarettes. Well, the restricted goods are not coming because of the troublesome arrangements. So other not restricted products are not coming as well. So when you amend the law, please also look at the problems faced by those involved in sea transport. And then paragraph 15. If you can tell us, please do so. If not, I can understand. That is the collaboration with the Zhuhai Airport. What is the progress? When will that be realized? If you can disclose the information, please do so. Third question is on paragraph 16. On different occasions, I've already urged the administration to look at the following stage of labor importation scheme for the transport sector aviation industry. Now you say that you allow the aviation industry to import labor to fill vacancies for frontline non-supervisory positions under 10 designated job types at the airport. Well, I need to tell you, we have frontline workers, but then for the foremen, it is arguable as to whether they are non-supervisory positions. We do need such supervisors. For imported labor, if they work here for 2 years, if they perform well, of course I want to keep them and I want to promote him. Is it possible to at least promote this worker to a rank above the existing one? I'm not talking about the managers, but rather the supervisors. Another point is about the green fuel. I know you do have plans to announce. Do give us a very clear timetable so that the shipping companies know about the deadline, or rather as to when the green maritime fuel will be available, and then they will start including Hong Kong as a port to call. Paragraph 30. Mr. Yik, you have got too many questions. I want to look at the logistics industry. You can't just look at the high-end logistics industry. Even a toilet roll would be important. If you just focus on the high-end, like the pharmaceutical products, then you don't need a lot of space. But can they help with our employment? Of course not. So please pay attention to that. Secretary, succinctly, please. Chair, for the air transshipment, we are looking at air, sea, or sea transshipment. The scenario will be a bit different. As to whether we can amend the law at the same time, it depends. I think you know that for sea transshipment, we may not have a restricted area. So we need to work on that. For the collaboration with Zhuhai Airport, we have the Flywire Zhuhai Hong Kong direct passenger service, where people can come to Hong Kong via Zhuhai so as to take a flight at the Hong Kong IA. For the collaboration between Hong Kong and Zhuhai airports, I will certainly let you know when we have anything to announce. For the non-supervisory posts, well, July last year, we came up with a plan. We have already allowed foreign workers to come. You talked about foremen or supervisors. We'll continue to have a dialogue with the sector. And in the light of the prevailing circumstances, we'll try to see how we can enhance the efficiency of the airport operation. So we'll certainly keep up our dialogue with Mr. Yik and his sector. I'm grateful to Mr. Yik for your question about the green maritime fuel bunkering. We'll try to see how we can give concrete information so that the shipping companies can plan their routes. Logistics. High value addedness is of course an area we want to focus on, but general logistics is also close to our heart. Logistics covers both general logistics as well as high-end or high value added logistics. We'll try to have both. I will always say that it is like a department store. We need to serve different categories of customers. That's our aim as well. Thank you. Next, it's my turn. Just a simple question. You also said that you would like to have the commodity trading ecosystem. For you to set up such an ecosystem, we need certain infrastructural facilities. Say, for example, LME may be approved to come to Hong Kong and has Hong Kong as a place of transaction, but you need storage for the metals involved. I'm afraid we don't have many storage facilities that can meet their requirements. Therefore, we need to find land to build the storage, but then it will require a lot of capital. So what about the storage facilities for non-ferrous metals? Are you going to give support to the sector? For the commodity trading ecosystem, as I have said in my earlier reply, in relation to the storage facilities, in relation to the tax concessions, we are having a research into that. For the storage, we can help and ensure that the storage can be set up as early as possible. Well, in the early years, they may suffer a loss in their operation. So are you going to provide any subsidies or any subvention? The government will consider this. We do want to facilitate that. We hope that this can be realized. The government will look into that. Thank you. Mr. Chen Xiuhong. But then it's approaching 7 o'clock, so would you like to put in your question in writing, or I'll just let you have a minute to put your question? Well, the secretary and the permanent secretary are present, so just want to know about the progress. And that's in relation to the West Kowloon station of the high-speed trains, where we don't have any dining facilities after you have passed the immigration. So I know you are talking to the mainland counterparts. Can you not sort of allow this to be offered so that passengers who are running late can still have something, can grab something to eat after passing the clearance facilities? Well, we are trying our best to have early results in relation to this matter. We are also anxious about that because we do know that they may not have to wait for a long period of time for their train, but still there are others who are eager or anxious and they will arrive early and they pass the immigration early. Generally speaking, the MTR will provide water or some snacks to needy passengers. But then we hope we can do more, and we hope that we can at least provide something basic so that passengers' needs can be met. So we are in fact having a very active dialogue with the mainland authorities. So are you saying that you have almost come to an end of your discussion and it's a matter of waiting for the operational details to be decided on? I may not be in a position to divulge the details, but both parties are working hard on that. All right, that's it. Item 6 AOB. If there's nothing under AOB, then I would say that meeting is adjourned. Thank you.